Okay, if we're all ready, I shall begin. So just let you know it is being recorded. If you need to listen to it later, it's going to be somewhere on the website. So I'd like to begin by talking about the process of discreation. It is very simple once you've got it, but many things, if you haven't done it before, it seems very difficult at first until you actually really get the process. To understand it, though, first understand when we first come as creators, as pure awareness, before we get complicated, simply three things we do. We create, we experience our creation, when we finished, we discreate it. The problem people are experiencing is there's such a backlog of stuff they haven't discreated. Life is so full of problems, they can't really focus on creating what they want. And often when you do try and create what you want, it triggers the old creations to reassert themselves. As an example, you might be thinking of trying to create some wealth. All the past creations pop in your eyes, and it manifests as doubt. And suddenly you haven't got the positive energy you need to manifest what you want. So the process of discreation, although it's not very well covered in general, is a very important one. The process of discreation is quite simple. And notice it leads on from creation to experience to discreate. You cannot do it if you're not willing to experience. And this is the key. When negative memories come up, one has to be willing to experience the emotions. You can't just push them away. That simply pushes them to the unconscious where they keep coming up, back up again, and you're always fighting with it. Sooner or later, it's got to be embraced and let go of. When you finally do embrace it, you find it passes quite quickly. So the first thing to know about it, you have to be willing to feel the emotions. So the actual process of discreation, I'll say generally, before I give some examples, when you're experiencing the problem that you don't want in your life anymore, you begin by welcoming the emotion. When you first experience it, you're almost locked inside one small part of it. You're not seeing the whole picture. There's certain emotion. Now, when you experience and welcome that emotion, you begin to expand. You experience the other emotions around the situation. As you welcome these more and more, you'll be expanding to see more and more of the whole picture. Reach a point then where you've got to the outside of that picture. No longer in it, no longer in the emotions. You see the whole thing laid in front of you. And this is where you label it without judgment. If you put it in judgment, say this is a pile of shit, then it obviously shows you still in the emotion. You haven't quite got to that point yet. So you carry on welcoming all the emotions until those emotions are more or less used up. They don't really go away, you expand through them and it changes. You get to this point where you see the whole picture. Suddenly you're not inside it anymore. You are dissociating. At that point, you can actually permit it to discreate itself. It'll just fade away. And it's gone. It's that simple, really. Obviously, when people apply this, because they haven't actually used it in their life yet, it's actually hard to put into practice. So I'll give some examples. A very simple one, I'm sure you've all experienced, which I've done before, is driving along and if I get stuck in traffic. Now, when this happens a lot, it gets very annoying. You get frustrated. So you may be driving along, starts traffic there. First of all, you feel the frustration. You welcome that. Notice you can do this while driving. You don't have to actually be in a meditative state to do it. It's quite natural. Start to experience the frustration. And as you expand into frustration, other feelings come. How many times people have blocked you before, or the other times you've been stuck somewhere, not moving. Times people have held you back. Remember when I was doing it, I also went back to some childhood memories of being at school, and because people are voting for something, you're drowned out. It's almost like people are in the way. That was the common theme here. And then suddenly you find you might get to the toilets and you die bursting for a pee, and because you're stuck in traffic, you can't get to the services. And that brings you up to memories of times you've queued up and everything was in your way, same pattern going on. But the pressure in your bladder is actually anchoring this pattern into the body more. It makes it more grounded into the unconscious. The pattern becomes stronger. So while you're expanding through these different feelings, layer upon layer, you get to the final pattern that's connected all together. This is the creation. People are in my way. Can't get anywhere. When you finally got that and gone through the emotion, you see this is not me, this is my creation. At that point, it just fades away, it's gone. At that point, I suddenly found the traffic cleared, got to the service, got to the toilet, everything went well. And since then, never got stuck in another traffic jam. That's the thing, patterns get repeated. When you discreate it, it stops happening. That's a very simple example. Another common one that comes up is relationships. This is one area a lot of people have this is where most of the emotional traumas come from, usually relationships. You have patterns of abusive or dysfunctional relationship. That can be very painful. You might be in a present relationship that's getting really painful. First thing you do is welcome that grief. There can be frustration, there can be anger, there can be pain, there can be jealousy, there can be powerlessness, shame, whatever it is, you welcome it. As you welcome those emotions, you start to expand again. Remember past relationships, which we experience as in abuse. They go back to childhood, to a relationship to your siblings, to your parents. And in the end, when you go through these emotions, remember all those relationships, you see later in front of you, you can see the whole thing laid out, no longer stuck in the emotion, you see the whole pattern. People abuse me, or whatever it is. At that point, you're not judging, it's simply labelled as it is. When the emotion is gone, you find you're outside it, you recognise this isn't me, this is my creation. You permit it to discreate. Notice it's permitting it to discreate itself. You're not forcing anything. Because you've used up the emotion, there's nothing holding in place anymore. Watch it fade away. Then you find that pattern's ended. There are no more negative emotions there. And therefore that relationship doesn't occur that way anymore. Your future relationships are free of that abusive pattern. So you see, it's very powerful, very simple when you get it. The trick is to remember to do this process in any situation that you don't want in your life. It can also come up when you're trying to create something new. As I've mentioned before, you might be trying to create wealth, and straight away the past creations start arising, you feel doubt. Now, when you actually start experiencing doubt and welcoming it, that's the important point, is to welcome the emotion. You're not fighting it, just allow it to be. It isn't to you, it's your creation. You allow this emotion, this doubt, as you experience it, you begin to remember all the other times you failed. That's why the doubt's there. You go through the emotions, what it was like to fail. The grief, the helplessness, the shame, feeling not good enough, whatever it was. And as you experience those emotions and you see the whole picture laid out, I fail, you let that discreate and it's gone. Now when you begin to visualize, that negativity is no longer there. The doubt is gone. So now you can visualize what you want positively and let it actually manifest. You see, to manifest anything new, you have to have that positive emotion, that expectation, desire, the imagination. Once you've discreated the negatives, that can flow freely. So at this point, are there any questions about that? About orbit, anything else about that matter? Box. So questions either about the process I was talking about, if not, any other aspects of my work you're interested in hearing about, or any questions you've had from dancing, from having tried the work and want to know more. Okay, somebody's asking about intergenerational trauma. Would you like to ask more about that and how it works? And I'll talk generally about this. That actually patterns are passed on in the genes. So I'll briefly explain how things get caught in the DNA. You see, the DNA is a coil, a double coil. So energy passing down, it goes both directions at once. It creates what we call a scalar wave. So every experience you have can be stored in the DNA. Now, when you experience it consciously, that wave passes the corpus callosum of the brain, which is what separates two hemispheres. And because that corpus callosum is in the shape of a Mobius strip, the wave goes to 180 phase change and cancels out the wave stored in the DNA. Therefore, once you've experienced it, it's no longer in the DNA. Everything you suppress exists as a wave in the DNA in every single cell of the body. And that wave will then start producing a melanin protein complex. Or it'll draw that melanin protein complex from the body and create a little kind of crystal. It's like an organic computer chip filled with stored memory. So because these emotions, memories, and traumas are stored in the DNA, they can be passed down. You can be born with traumas in the DNA from your parents and grandparents and so on. Of course, you don't remember them, but you act with the same kind of dysfunctional patterns that your parents and grandparents had. Not only have you learned their behavior, it's actually in the DNA. So when you actually begin to do this process of releasing, you can actually have memories that are not yours. Remember, these waves coming out of your DNA are not just from this life. You can get into past lives, you can get into genetic memories, things that happen to parents and ancestors. It can be entities attached to you that somehow resonated with your thought pattern and added to it. So you see there are many layers that come off the DNA when you start this work. Okay, somebody's asking about power loss and intrusions. Okay, this is quite a vast subject in itself. Let's look at the different ways people lose power. Well, first of all, there's ways you give power away. Two most common ways you do that is one through jealousy and the other through seeking approval. Let's look at jealousy. Jealousy is one emotion that people tend to judge and therefore don't want to feel it. And that doesn't help. It pushes it further into the unconscious, makes the belief in the law go ever deeper. What the jealousy is really showing you is that there is a limited belief. You're seeing somebody who's got something and you're saying, I can't create that. Maybe practicing metaphysics and no, I can create anything. But now when I'm feeling jealousy, I'm saying, I can create anything but that. At that moment, I've given my power away to that person, saying that he can create something that I can't. So every time you're being jealous, you're giving power away. Of course, the answer is not to suppress the jealousy. You have to go and actually discreate that belief that's behind it. Then you don't feel jealous. The other way is approval. Anytime you're seeking other people's approval, you're giving power away. You're not here to follow somebody else's dream. You're here to follow yours, to listen to your own conscience. You need somebody to approve of you. You're putting them above you. So you give power away. Those are the common ways we give it away. Also, many ways people take it from you. The obvious bullying, force, violence. Times in life when maybe when you're young, you got bullied, dominated by somebody. Or maybe in later relationships, you're in a dominating relationship, and somebody's bullying you, they're taking your power. You're not in control of your own life at that point. They're controlling you. The next big one is fear. Now, it began because people have been controlled by violence. Therefore, there's a fear of violence. But also there can be a fear of disapproval. There can be a fear of not being loved. A fear of being wrong. A fear that there's something wrong with you. Then you have the imaginary fears created by religion saying if you don't listen to us, you're going to go to hell. These are all ways, again, you're disempowered. When people put you in a state of fear to control you, they're taking your power away. Another big one is by giving you disapproval. That it works because you've got this need for approval, obviously, and because you doubt yourself. Then there's image manipulation. People create an image of how you ought to be. If you're not like that, there's something wrong with you. This is used to control everybody. A simple example in the New Age is if you're spiritual, you don't get angry. Well, that's not true at all. We all have emotions. What they're really saying, but don't be angry, is don't be assertive. Let me walk all over you. So people say you're being wrong, creating an image which you're not living up to. That's a form of controlling you, therefore taking away your power. People take your power away when they lie to you, simply because you haven't got the information you need to make the best decision for yourself. Some lies might seem quite harmless, but when you look at the control element here, stopping a person from making a clear decision, that's when it's disempowering. Maybe in a relationship, somebody's been unfaithful. By lying, they're not giving you the ability to choose whether you want to be in that kind of relationship. They're keeping you in place, but not letting you know. That's taking power away. People are controlled and therefore disempowered through altruism. Now, altruism is based on a real emotion. We have compassion for each other. But it gets distorted. People say you have to die for your cause, die for your country, die for everybody else. Give up your needs for somebody else. This doesn't actually work. One thing, you're not usually giving your power, you're not usually sacrificing for the whole. You're sacrificing a few people in charge. We're manipulating the whole thing. Secondly, if everybody was to sacrifice to everybody else, nobody could receive because they'd feel so jealous it wouldn't be worth it. They'd feel so guilty about it, it wouldn't be worth it. It doesn't allow anybody to grow when you give your own needs away. So altruism is also a false idea that disempowers you. So these are all the different ways you've lost power throughout your life. Okay, I'll come back to the next question in a minute. So I'll talk a bit more about taking power back. Very simple once you realise it's lost. This is an act of will, more or less, and you can use symbolism. The way I like to do it is to imagine you've got a stick of birch or oak, because these are sacred woods, and with that you draw a circle clockwise on the ground around yourself. This is creating a circle of focus. You call the other people one at a time to the edge of the circle, but they can't cross the line. You see them holding the power they've taken, might be a ball of energy, some symbolic form. You can either demand it back or you have to wrestle with them and take it back. In this circle, truth prevails, therefore if they struggle, you will win it back. So in this meditation, you're taking all the power back for all the people you've lost it to. If you start this process, you may find there's many people you've lost power to. Just keep going it and get it all back. Now, the energy intrusions asked about, these get in within points of unconsciousness. Really goes along with the power loss. If you give your power away, you're creating emptiness inside yourself with the power missing. Something can come in and control you. It all begins by, first of all, being aware of where you give your power away, take it all back and get out of the habit of giving it away and not letting people take it. Okay. There's a few more questions coming up. Let's try and get to them. Somebody's asking about things like the attacks of black magic, whether it only happens if you can believe it. Well, quite often it happens very sneakily. People do it when you don't know it's there. So obviously belief doesn't really come into it. Most people are destroyed without knowing they're attacked. Belief has an effect, of course, but it's not so much in not believing black magic, it's about believing your ability to handle it. Denial is never a point, it's never a measure of your spiritual progress. Neither is unconsciousness. Not knowing black magic is there is not going to help you. You have to recognize it's there, but also recognize that you have the power to deal with it. That's where belief comes in. Okay, somebody was asking about, let's just going. See a question here. You're so fast, I won't keep up with them. Hang on a minute. By the next question. Somebody's asking to do more. Okay, somebody's asking about energy loss to vampires. Okay, there's different kinds of vampires, or rather different levels of vampirism. You get the typical emotional vampires that everybody's come across. We're so needy, they tend to drain all your energy, do the guilt trips and make you want to give to them until you've got nothing left. That just requires having firm boundaries. You get those who've taken it further, had some occult training and know how to hook into people, put tentacles into their aura without them knowing and suck their energy out. This can be very tricky. So there are different levels of vampiric activity here. General shields often work, but there are some which are so insidious that this part of the vampire magic involves cliff-othic magic, where the tentacles have a spike which can penetrate shields, penetrate the chakras and so on. You'll often get through people's shields. It does require higher energy to each level. This kind of magical battle can go on. If the vampire is stronger, you have to get stronger still. But there are particular energies I find which deal with this, and the main one is the Mahavidya Chinnamasti. Now, in the Vedic system, the Mahavidya is a very high level. You wouldn't normally work with these until you've done at least 15 years of Siddhi Yoga to do empowerments to help people along. Chinnamasti is the lightning goddess. She destroys instantly. Her energy is so fiery, it clears things very quick. In her presence, all vampirism is transmuted. All cords are bent off. It's not the same as shielding you. So you can put up a shield and it'll work so long, but there's always something to eventually get through it. It's about constantly burning off what's trying to come in. A bit more like a firewall. If it's really fire, it burns things coming in. It's not about trying to be hard enough so nothing can get in. It's about burning it. The cords that can't exist, they burn away. So that's the best way of dealing with these vampiric cords. There are certain spells in the fairy language which deal with vampires too. It's a bit hard to cover at this moment, but for those who need it, I do both an anti-vampire charm and a vampire crystal kit, which has the Chinnamasti just programmed into it to actually burn away the vampiric cords. So if you need them, those are available. Otherwise, simply a case of being aware. Notice the manipulations. The tools I mentioned about how people steal power from you, these are typically practiced by your emotional vampire. You recognize those, learn to be assertive, not to be manipulated, and you stop giving power away, basically. You have to begin with that. As you become more strong in your boundaries and more aware of the manipulations, you don't get caught up in them. Yeah, somebody's asking about the fire being effect of the cords. Yeah, somebody's asking about how a vampire can do it about your soul without noticing it. Well, quite often you don't know what's happening when you get ill. Here's a problem. Now, most of us in the new age are aware that when we're ill, we have something to do with that. We can try and find ways we're losing our energy. But many people out there conditioned to go to the doctor and just take medicine have no idea what's making them ill. What's happening in energy being drained, then you get low in energy, you start getting ill, you're fading away. You don't know why. So it all depends on how conscious you are. Yes, there are many people are being drained by vampires, even to a point of death. Energy is drained away. It all comes from simply not being aware of what's affecting you. If you are aware that there's something wrong when you're losing energy, and this shouldn't be because you're eating a healthy diet and whatever, you're not aware of who you've given power away to, you might want to go into meditation and see what's draining you. Once you see it, you can then deal with it. It is the fact that it's unconscious that allows it to work. When you see something, you can direct your consciousness and realize you can change it. It's the things you don't know that are getting you. Okay, somebody's asking about the pattern of making money and then they lose it. Okay, that itself is a pattern, which you have to go into it and explore and experience, welcome all the emotions. And I want to say something about a bit more about this process of discreation. When you start to discreate, you'll find layers. You go through one emotion, next one comes up. So first of all, be aware that sometimes not knowing is also a layer. Trouble is when we don't know, we start making conclusions about the unknown. People think this must be my karma, I must have done something in a past life, or somebody's cursing me. People have these ready-made answers, but they don't know. Sometimes, in order to get to the unknown, you want to also recognize your conclusions about the unknown. You get to a layer, I don't know. Just recognize I don't know is also a creation. So making conclusions of experience, I don't know. When you welcome that, the next layer will come. So what's happening when you have this pattern that you gain money, then lose it again? Okay, that's what you feel. How does it feel? What's the emotion every time you lose it? For anybody, it's happened many times. The doubt in yourself builds up, the frustration builds up, you go into hopelessness, into an apathy. All these emotions have to be welcomed. Trouble is, as people don't experience their creation, they want to push these emotions away. You have to experience, then discreate. So you welcome every stage. You welcome the fact that you're losing money. How does that feel? Welcome the apathy, welcome the hopelessness, welcome the grief, welcome the disappointment. And as you do that, you go through more and more memories. And you realize this pattern has been there long ago. Maybe it happened as a child when toys were taken away or some small thing was taken away. Maybe it happened to your parents who realize it's a genetic pattern. Doesn't matter how far it goes back, you reach a point as you go through these emotions where it gets to an edge. There's no more. You see the whole thing. Here's my pattern. I can't hold on to money. Once you've gone through the emotion and you've seen the pattern from the outside, you're no longer in it. That's the important point to get to. You're no longer caught to the emotion. You've gone through the emotion. You're simply seeing it. I don't hold on to money. This is my creation. Then you allow it to discreate, and it goes. Okay, somebody's asking about the tree spirits. Okay, first of all, I don't attach the tree spirit to a staff. They live in the wood. You see a tree spirit, obviously lives in the tree. But they are formless, the actual spirit of it. It's not fixed in one body like us. The spirit can subdivide very much like an amoeba through a kind of binary fission. One spirit in one branch, and then it'll call me to take it. So when I cut that branch, there's a living spirit. Normally if you cut wood from a tree, the spirit withdraws and you've got dead wood. So when a spirit calls you, it'll subdivide. It'll put the spirit into one branch and then you take it with you. That could be a small one, it could be a large one. The important thing is the spirit has to call. If somebody's asking me for a tree spirit, I'll put the message out. I'll wait for those tree spirits to call. They'll give you the spirit that wants to work with that person. See, the tree spirit has conscious choice. They choose to work with people. It's a two-way relationship. We both learn something from it because we're different. A tree has no physical movement. Therefore, their activities are on the astral. So from us, they gain physical movement. When we're wearing the beads, they can arise in us. In return, they're guiding us on the astral plane, showing us how energy works, because they're more experienced at those things. So it's a two-way relationship there. Okay, somebody's asking about the Tuatha De Danann. My course there doesn't actually specifically include the Morrigan, but you can include that anywhere along the way. fact is, once you've opened up to the fairy realm and you're travelling through it, you can meet all kinds of beings. You have guides who can take you further. I don't cover every possible being because that'll be endless, but it will be your own path when you get in there. Yes, you can meet them. Okay, somebody's asking about the dragons. Okay, Mukutu no Kososro. That's the crown of the dragon. Now, this is a particular empowerment that almost precedes all the other empowerments because it means there's power in you. The dragon's crown is something that's commonly seen in many past religions. You see in Hindu religions, the god's always wearing this crown. This is the same as a dragon's crown. Whoever wears this crown has power. It represents the opened crown chakra, the kundalini risen to the crown of the head. So power is flowing. This is not the same as all the separate dragons you can work with. This is a universal power which everybody needs to have in the dragon magic to be empowered. It does affect absolutely everything because it's power. So it's not working the same way as, say, your white brain dragon, which is a particular energy. Mukuta no Kososro is your opening to power. Okay, somebody's asking about shame. Okay. For those who are aware of my work, I often talk about how to squeeze out shame. As I pointed out, all the emotions have to be felt. Now, the difference with shame is it's not a real emotion. Now, this is the clue. When we don't feel what we really want to feel, the body starts generating something else because it needs to feel something. Shame is an example of this. You don't feel remorse rid of shame. Remorse is a natural emotion. Remorse is when you realize you made a mistake. With shame, you are the mistake. Instead of saying, I've done this and it doesn't feel right for me, is I'm defective. See, it's a conditioning. It's a perspective you've taken on that's false. Quite often then when somebody's dumped shame on you, and you squeeze it and giving it back, there's a resonance left because it's agreeing with something in yourself. Obviously not all shame comes from other people. It's difficult to deal with your own shame when people are dumping on you because then it's overwhelming. You don't know what's yours and what you can forgive. You can't actually forgive the shame people have dumped on you because it isn't yours. So supposing you realise people dump shame on you, you go through the process of squeezing it out, giving it back, and there's a little bit that's left, it's not quite gone. There's a bit of you that still feels shamed anyway and therefore wants to agree with what they're dumping on you. This is a point where you have to recognise something you didn't feel right. You felt remorse. If you don't feel remorse, you're going to feel shame. This is a thing people don't want to feel uncomfortable feelings. Remorse isn't comfortable, but it's one of the most transformative feelings you can have. Because when you recognise that there's something you're doing that doesn't agree with your true self, your conscience, your character, it's going to feel wrong. It's showing you this is wrong for me, therefore I'll get back on alignment and do what is right for me. What happens when it senses shame, you feel defective and keep failing in the same way. You keep repeating those negative patterns, which goes against your true conscience, and you lose yourself. Conscience is a part of the process of individualization. It's showing what's wrong for you rather than what's wrong for everybody else, based on your character, who you feel you are. So there'll be points when the shame that's given back to others doesn't feel complete because something in you agrees with that. Somebody's telling you you're bad and something inside me saying, yes, I am bad. Because there's something that you have to release, that you have to look at. You have to recognise what you did that didn't feel right. Now, I see a lot of people in this new age trying to just get rid of shame, saying we don't have to feel it. Therefore, saying there isn't no mistake, therefore I don't have to feel remorse. It is not helping. Simply because you do feel remorse. You do something that goes against your grain, it doesn't feel right. Remorse is a very powerful emotion to produce change, but it has to be within the right sense of events in a way. The process of change actually has 4 stages. You acknowledge it, you recognise, acknowledge, forgive, and change. Recognising first, realise, yes, I did this. I did something wrong. Acknowledging is it really was me, it's not somebody else's fault. I didn't do it because somebody did it to me. No, I did it. Forgiveness is realising, okay, I can forgive this. I don't have to do it anymore. And it goes with the change. You may notice you can't forgive somebody who hasn't changed because you don't feel safe. Same with yourself. You won't forgive yourself unless you know you're changing. And yet you won't change until you're forgiven. All these steps go together. So when you actually recognize your mistake, feel remorse and forgive, then the shame's gone. So it isn't enough to give back shame to others. You get to that point where there's underneath this, touching a shame that's yours. Okay. So I'm just talking about clearing family DNA. Now, this very question shows there's more to it than just the DNA. Not wanting to meet this family again is definitely a sign of unresolved emotions. Now, truly, when you forgive, you don't have to actually meet the other person again. It's about being free. You may notice if somebody's done something wrong, you finally forgive them. Doesn't mean you suddenly start inviting them to dinner. You know they're dysfunctional. You don't want that behavior in your life. You cut them off, but you're no longer holding on to it. So the very need to be free of people is showing unresolved emotion. Therefore, you're not really going to be free until you feel those emotions. Whatever these uncomfortable feelings in the family are, you may feel they're abusing you, they've disempowered you, they've shamed you. All these things have to be dealt with. You start by taking back your power, giving back their shame. You go through all the past emotions, you welcome them, you look at the kind of relationship you've been in with them, you discreate it. Then you're free, they've gone. Just cutting the cords won't be enough because we can go through a mental exercise. Without the emotion to give it meaning, it's not going to work. This is the difference. A lot of people know how to visualize, do these symbolic acts, but they have to be giving meaning. When you cut a cord through a person, you have to really feel what this cord is about, the emotions that have formed it. You must allow yourself to feel these emotions to really discreate that situation. Then it's fully gone. Then you won't have to come back to them. It's done. If you do meet them again later, it doesn't matter because the same emotions are not there. It's changed. It's only really gone when you have no attachment to it. If you want them to go away, you still have attachment. You're still in the emotion. That's time to go deeper, to welcome those emotions and discreate that relationship. Hang on, what we got here? Words are going quite fast. Okay, somebody asking about dealing with jinn. Okay, jinn, I've recently written an article about that. There's a lot you could say about it. Dealing with them, there can be two things. Quite often there's ways of getting rid of unwanted jinn because they can cause problems. Particularly over in the Middle East, you find there's many stories about people being possessed by jinn creating their problems. There are other higher protective spirits such as kodans which deal with those negative jinn, and there are mantras and spells which get rid of them. That's one way of dealing with them. On the other hand, people eventually get a certain amount of control to get the jinn to work for them. Again, this is a vast subject. I mean, the new course I put out will actually make it much easier for you because it'll give them empowerment to save a lot of work. But generally, there's loads of mantras to do to actually gain mastery, and they come in different traditions. As an example, within the Quran, there's a jinn verse, I can't remember which number it is now, but it's a whole page you read. When I was given this initiation to work with this jinn, I had to read that page 700 times. Obviously, it didn't have to be one sitting because it's long, I did over a few days. So you spent hours of prayer till the jinn turns up. That's traditional. What I've done in my courses is get empowerment to take that work out. You know, like an attunement is given on, then suddenly you can do it. Same way the person who's given the attunement. This way, the work that's been done can be passed on. Not everybody has to do it. So in my jinn courses, you get an empowerment, which allows you to connect with the jinn much faster. Otherwise, it's a long, difficult process. Those who want to try it on their own, well, one I mentioned the Quran is a useful way. Read the jinn verse 700 times and you'll see jinn turning up. Somebody's asking about the relationship between Shiva and Sekhmet. Are they in the same dimension? When dealing with deities of different positions, quite often they are trying to give a form and an image to a similar energy, but they're not always exactly the same. Sekhmet, for instance, formed in what's called the Chem. This is the first fires of creation, which is seen as both sexual and destructive. It's pure fire. Out of the Chem comes Sekhem, power. Sekhmet is a personification of that power. So energy is seen as very fiery. In a way, Shiva can be seen as similar because he's that fiery destructive energy too, but there's a different sense of how it works. So Shiva is seen as pure consciousness. In the original Trinity of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, which all religions have in some form, whether you see as Father, Son, or Holy Ghost, or whatever, there's a Trinity. Okay, you've got a creator, a preserver, and a destroyer, which also represents pure consciousness. Because when you're in pure consciousness, you destroyed form again, come back to pure awareness. So if you use that aspect which destroys form, stays in pure awareness where things volatile and fiery, there's no form. This is more than just seeing the fires of destruction, it's almost a level beyond the creation itself. So it's simply another perspective, trying to see it from a more spiritual perspective. Oh, someone's asking about more, which is a more powerful jinn or the Kodam. Well, the Kodam is seen as higher. See, a Kodam is between the jinn and the angels. Doesn't make it better for everything. Kodams give you protection. They can deal with the negative jinn and the other negative spirits, but they don't tend to fulfill all your wishes. They're there more for your spiritual needs. Jinn can be specialists in different areas. You'd use those for things like gaining money, gaining love, the practical things in your life. Whereas a Kodam will increase your spiritual awareness, your evolution, and help your prayers and make you grow more and keep you protected. There's a difference. Kodam's a higher energy. That's not always better. Okay, there's a link here in case you want to read my recent blogs on jinn. There's a lot more information there. Okay, any further questions? Actually, might have missed a few because they've come in pretty fast. If I've missed any, then please ask again because it's hard to scroll back and find them all. Okay, somebody asking about how to navigate the astral. Okay. Oh, that's a big question. See, the astral is pretty vast. It's far bigger than the physical universe. Simply because the physical universe is like an end result of a process. When we first come out of the infinite potential, we create a causal plane where all possibilities exist. Now, all possibilities is more than what we've got here. Out of those possibilities, some become probabilities in the astral plane, then some actualize in the physical plane. So the astral plane contains far more probabilities that have actually actualized here. Therefore, it's going to be much bigger. When you go into the astral, then, well, first of all, if you want to navigate it, first of all, think what's useful. So many people get lost in all kinds of illusions there and things that are not doing them any good. It's like a dream world. You can go anywhere and have all kinds of fun and games, but that's not useful. It's full of projections. It's full of everything, basically. And quite often people are talking to projections. You've got the interface of the unconscious here. I'll give one example, like when people look for fairies. Quite often they don't know what a fairy is. They're seeing projections, say, of the childish mind, where you have these little jumpy little imps and little winged creatures with gossamer wings. These are projections of the child. Then you see a lot of people seeing the modern stories of ElfQuest, where it's all these scantily clad maidens and warriors, or all half naked. This is a projection of the adolescent mind. This is not what fairies are like. Yet these all exist in the astral. When you go there, you're going to meet these things because they're projections. All you're meeting there is all the probabilities, things that could be, but haven't happened here. To navigate the astral, therefore, it's good to go in with a purpose, and we have guides. A good example is when you do underworld journeying. It's very similar in a way, because it's a vast world here, it's interfacing the unconscious, and you have your power animal to guide you. The animal, being more instinctive, is more in touch with those inner drives. Therefore, in the underworld, for instance, the animal guides you. In the upper worlds, you have other kinds of guides, angels, whatever. So really, if you want to get to the astral plane, it's very useful to meet your guides first. Now, the first thing you get that comes in the way when you start astral projection is something that's called the dweller on the threshold. This is simply some of your fears, all the stuff that gets in the way, usually the fear of death. Simply because a usual way of getting to the other side is when you die. Crossing over is like a mini death. Therefore, your survival instinct, your fear of death, stops him going there. Your fears get projected and you meet this being which stops him going forward. It seems to be really threatening. That goes when you process all your own emotions around it. Then it changes its form. This dwell on the threshold becomes a guide, because now it knows you want to survive, but you want to get to the other side. It can guide you. So when you start astral projection, you're going to meet various beings. The ones you're afraid of when you do your work end up becoming your guides. This way you get useful information. You know where you go in the astral plane, that's actually useful. Because in there are all projections. You can make great change by doing this work. You go to different parts of your own mind, basically. You can find your blockages there. You can find your past hang-ups and your karma, whatever you want to call it. You can resolve it there. You can meet people there, yes, all kinds of things. Just be aware that it's also through the projections. Okay, somebody's asking why they be to go outside the astral. Simply because you're outside the body's limitations. You're in the world of pure energy. In the body, you don't experience so much of it. It's also fitting with how the Kundalini rises. You know, there are these things called grunties, the knots, which actually short circuit it when you're not ready, so it doesn't do damage. Because you see, the higher energy cannot be experienced in the physical body, it will destroy you. Now, it's really much linked to libido. They say that when the Kundalini rises fully, it has the intensity of 10,000 orgasms. In the body, that would kill you. When the body is prepared to go beyond the physical, which is another plane, you can experience that kind of energy. It's like on the astral, you leave the body, you now experience energies that the body can't handle. It happens in dreams sometimes. You might have a sexual dream on the astral is really intense, more than the physical sex. You're simply becoming free of physical limitations, doing things that the body cannot handle. Okay, somebody's asking about the courses. Well, actually, I'm in the process of getting more and more of my courses online, yes, so we can reach more people. Yeah, so that's a simpler question. Yes, I'm going to put all of them online. Much as I can, obviously the point holdings are to do online because you need to be there to press points, but a lot of the other teachings, the shamanic healing, even the voodoo, going to become online courses. They'll be a bit more complex, they're going to require videos and things, but it's happening. Somebody's asking about astral sex, and how to do it safely. Okay, got a couple of questions here. One person asking about astral sex, the other one's talking about what to do when they're raped on the astral. You can see these are very much related. Think about the astral plane. When you're free of the body, you also get beyond certain limitations, certain inhibitions. This is why in dreams you do things that you don't often do in the physical world, because inhibitions are gone. On one level, that's very useful because we get to fulfill the desires we don't do physically because of our hang-ups. So often you might have dream sex because you're not having sex in the physical world. To initiate on the astral plane is one thing, and it's good for both these questions to understand this process. If a person is looking for astral sex, one programs himself before going to sleep. Now, I wouldn't do this on a specific target unless they're willing, because they're going to have their own barriers here. They're not going to necessarily be exactly what you want them to be in a dream. They're still going to be themselves. You can actually program the experience, whether it's a dream, love, or whatever. Just like with any dream, you program it before you go to sleep. Or with astral projection, if you're doing conscious, you lie down, go into deep relaxation, you hold that thought. The astral is very much working that way. What you're thinking of and really focus on carries it on into the dream state. So if somebody's doing this to you, getting into astral plane, the obvious thing to do is a banishing ritual. I have put this on my blogs before, and it's in my psychic protection courses. You learn a banishing ritual which closes space before you go to sleep. We often do banishing rituals for any spiritual work to keep negative entities out. If you're under attack, it clears the space. If you have dream problems, it's good to do it at night before you go to bed, then nothing gets in. It simply involves casting a circle around yourself, drawing the banishing band against the quarters, and calling upon the angels of each element and so on. But that's something one needs to learn if you want to keep yourself safe on the astral. The other way is tree spirits. Tree spirits are good guides in the astral plane, but you have to tell them what you want, because they don't always understand human needs. They're different, remember. If you want a tree spirit, take it to bed with you and tell it, I don't want these things to come in the dream state, protect me, it will do it. Yes, being raped in the dream state, this is very much astral. It happens. It can be an entity, it could be a person interfering with you. Either way, you need to do the banishing ritual to keep them out. There's a few exercises put in my psychic protection courses. The middle exercises clears the chakras, makes things difficult to get in, but the banishing ritual will push everything out of your space for that time. So that's the first thing. Do a banishing ritual at night before you go to bed. Oh, someone's asking about the sort of regular frequencies. Yes, they're effective for particular things. There's a whole set of frequencies if you look at it, and they all have an effect on consciousness. They cause a certain resonance within the cells. They don't do everything, but they do some things. So yes, they are effective. Okay, somebody's asking too about forgiving someone that's hurt them to move on in life. Okay, forgiveness is a big subject, and it's often not covered enough. People tell you to forgive, but they don't tell you how. You can't just forgive. That often requires denying emotions, which then come back up and cause more problems or make you ill. First of all, forgiveness is not an obligation. You're not a bad person if you don't do it. It's a way of being free. You're only free when you've gone through those emotions and released them. You're not going to give a person until you've gone through those emotions, the hate and whatever, but also recognize that you're part of it, why you've allowed it to happen. When you're forgiving another person, there's stages. Now I can actually describe a simple meditation that's very useful to do. Go into meditation, find a safe place, and you're going to draw a large circle up on the ground, drawing it clockwise. You stand on one side of the circle, another person's going to come on the other side of the circle, 180 degrees from you. We're going to do different things in different positions. First of all, you tell them what they did. You get all the emotions out and the anger, express it all, tell them all they've done to you. When you finish that, you both walk around, quarter turn. You go 90 degrees clockwise, they go around, so still opposite you. In the second position, you tell them how it made you feel. But you also talk about why you allowed it to happen. Now remember, when you're being responsible, you didn't always create it, but you've allowed it. Sometimes because you weren't strong enough, sometimes you didn't know any better, but still the reason you allowed it. It's not judging it, it's realizing I've allowed it because of this. When you got to that point, you move around next quarter turn. So you were where they started, and then you started. At this point, it's their turn to talk. They tell you why they did it. Now you can have your power animals sitting with them to make sure they tell the truth, because you don't take any excuses. No bullshit. There's no excuse for what they did, but there is a reason. The reason is because their shame may be their weakness. Not in the sense to be their weakness, it changed the whole energy altogether. Doesn't excuse it, but you can see what they're doing. A person might have dumped shame on you because they have got shame they don't know how to deal with. They might be feeling so inadequate, take power from you. They don't know how to earn value otherwise. It's a weakness. Then when you move around another quarter of turn, still facing them, you forgive the why rather than the what. You forgive them that particular weakness for not knowing how to deal with their shame and so on. Then you can complete the circle. Finally forgive them, cut the ties and let them go. You see, the process involves understanding of the weaknesses, why you've allowed it, as well as you releasing those emotions. Then you'll be free. Self-acceptance, somebody's asking about. Best way to work on it? Obviously, first of all, you've got to release the negative emotions. This is the thing I keep getting to here when I talk about discreation. Everybody's talking about creation, nobody knows how to discreate. To get a positive emotion, quite often you've got to release the negative. You accept yourself when you've got rid of the shame, because it's natural. When you recognize your divinity, as you do meditation, realize that you're one with the universe, therefore you are God. There can be no shame, but in the same process, you won't realize there is shame, because there's things that happen which have been dumped on you, or things you haven't forgiven. When you release the shame, you find it really easy to forgive yourself, to accept yourself. It's more than self-acceptance, it's actually self-love. You recognize your divinity, your true value. So rather than just working on self-acceptance, get rid of what's in the way. Clear the shame. Okay, somebody's asking how to tell the difference between the real masters and the fake masters. It takes a lot of discrimination, really, because there's so many tricks being played, which everybody falls for. Now, the first trick is to understand trust. It's never about trusting somebody else, it's about trusting yourself. You can't really trust others until you trust your ability to assess them as trustworthy. If your intuition and your other judgments are not clear, then you can't trust anybody. So there's a certain level of intuition tells you. It's also recognizing whether they're actually living what they teach. Are they a good example of their teachings? Are they asking you to do things that don't feel right? Are they telling you to trust you rather than actually allow you to trust yourself? This is a big one. So many people tell you you've got to trust, meaning trust them. Confidence tricks in particular use that one, otherwise they wouldn't get away with anything, would they? A master doesn't tell you to trust them, they teach you to trust yourself. That's the first big one. They empower you by telling you that you are God rather than they are God. Yes, we're all God, but it's not useful to you to recognize I am God. It's useful to you to recognize that you are God. That's what the master is helping you with. But also something about the presence makes it easy to do that. This comes from that simple recognition. You see, if I'm sitting here with you and I'm seeing you as God, it'll change how you see yourself. Now, I'll give a simple example of how this works in actually healing. A person comes in for their problems. Now, what's actually holding those problems together is the seriousness. Seriousness is the glue that holds the illusion together. Doesn't mean I get silly about it, doesn't mean I tell them they've got to deal with themselves. I'm simply listening, appreciating that this is God. I'm recognizing all these things in their creation, we can help discreate it. I'm not actually saying that, I'm just seeing them as God. And by doing that, you find their seriousness goes down. They soon get to the point and realize, oh yeah, I can discreate this. It's the presence that makes a difference, that the work becomes easy when that person's with you. If the person gives you a hard time, makes you feel bad about yourself and makes you struggle, that is not a master. The master is one who makes your work easy. Their presence makes it easy to do the things that you've chosen to do. Use of the work that you've chosen comes easy in the presence of the master. They're not telling you to do it, they're helping you, making it easier to do what you want to do, which is find your power, create your dreams, get rid of the problems, recognize that you are God and increase your value and so on. That's a simple way of recognizing it. Okay, somebody's asking about post-traumatic stress disorder. Exactly the same way as I spoke about this creation, you have to feel those emotions. Trauma comes up, you have to feel it. Now the trick here is that you have to feel safe to do it. You don't do this in a place where you don't feel safe. This is why quite often you can't do it when you're being judged. This is a big part of finding the right therapist. If somebody's judging you, telling you what to do, you don't feel safe. You won't release your deepest emotions if you feel judged for them. You don't feel safe. If you're doing it on your own, first of all, find a space where you're safe. There's nobody around you to judge you. And you are not going to judge yourself. So you're going to sit there and realize these emotions aren't me, they're just emotions. I can feel anything I like. Doesn't make a difference to who you are. Because you feel fear or grief or pain, these don't make a difference to who you are, they're just emotions. Then you welcome the emotion. When you do that, you start going through the memory. You feel the shock, the stress, whatever it is, you might be shaking. Just allow it all to happen. When you felt it, you get to that point where it's the emotions used up, you see this creation, you have to discreate. You see that stress, that trauma, it's always become part of a bigger creation that keeps happening. The pattern of stress keeps going on in your life. So the process of discretion is the same. You welcome every emotion, keep expanding to go to the edge, and let it all go when it's the emotions used up. Then that stress doesn't happen anymore. The trauma's gone. You're not holding on to the stress. So the trick with all these things is to welcome emotions. To do that, you have to be the observer. It's not pushing emotion away. It's not trying to make it different, but it's not being identified with it either. So recognizing this is me, this is my emotion, there's a difference. The emotion isn't me. Notice how people identify with emotions. Rather than saying I'm feeling angry, it might say I'm an angry person. No, it's not who you are. You're not angry all the time. Well, some people might be, but it's still not who they are. They get stuck in it because they've identified with it. I'm not an angry person, but I can feel angry. The emotion isn't me. Therefore, if you feel angry and welcome emotion, it'll pass. Same with the pain, the grief, or anything. It's an emotion, it's not who I am. I'm observing it, I'm welcoming it, I'm feeling it, always experiencing it as its creator, not stuck in the creation. That's the place to get to. We're the creator, not the creation. Okay. Somebody is asking about sound healing via the voice. Well, yes, sounds do make a big part of it, but that's all science. You have this Tibetan chanting, you've got the gongs and things like that, but also in the Pueblo Indian medicine, during the transfer, we have certain sacred sounds which move energies around. Complex subject, but yes, it can be part of the healing. Things, what I'm giving is first the basics of how it works. There's many tools which facilitate that. They don't take it away. To release the past, you have to go through emotions. The process of discreation will be up to the spell. In my dragon course, there's a spell of discreating. This doesn't take this process away, it facilitates it. It means when you do the spell, it makes it more natural to go through this process. But you have to go through the emotion. Sound can trigger emotions that you push down, make it surface so you can deal with it. If you're not willing to deal with it, you haven't got those basics, then you won't know what to do with it. You won't actually respond well to the sound. So once you've got the basics and understand how we heal, many tools can facilitate that process. So with sound healing, if you first understand I will need to release this emotion, you might put a certain sound on and it triggers an emotion, it all stirs up. Then you can go through the process. It makes it easy to welcome it, let it go, and then you change. The sound almost becomes another energy which holds you through it. It's this resonance that shifts you to where you want to go. Okay, somebody's asking about the virus inhibitor. Okay. This is separate from the sound I published on my article. There was a sound you can listen to. The virus inhibitor field isn't involving a sound. It's an empowerment you can trigger any time once you've got it. You only have to activate it in meditation and it'll work through your body. It'll suppress the viruses and boost the immune system. Sound's another thing. Now, in that sound file that I posted, that's simply the vibration which neutralizes the vibration of the disease. It's really simple. We do this in radionics, in all forms of resonance. If you have one vibration, you simply have an opposite pattern, like something which actually a reflection that gets rid of it by destructive interference. It neutralizes it. Therefore, any pattern you've got, you can then find a neutralizing pattern for. You take the energy pattern of the virus, put it through 180 degree phase change, and that neutralizes the virus. That sound file was the energy pattern of that virus. Switch by 180 degrees so it neutralizes it. That simple. Okay. One more question before I go into the virus inhibitor. Somebody was asking about star seeds. Okay. Star seeds, it can be a bigger subject because you have to realize we have many other lives before this human form. Because when we come from pure awareness as God, we scatter ourselves throughout the whole creation to experience it all. Therefore, we can have other lives apart from a human. And each one of these other lives is a piece of our potential. By the time we've come here and become human, we've left so much of that experience of being created outside ourselves. And rather than remember it all at once, we have pieces here and there. And that piece, I had that particular power. On that piece, I had that particular level of awareness. So you may find there's bits of you from different stars where you have different awareness that's beyond human. Yeah, that's part of you too. It's good to collect all these parts of yourself because you're becoming whole, remembering your full power. In the end, you come to the realization you're God. But that's a big step to do it in stages. You embrace each world, the star seeds, the jinn, the fae, the spirits, the angels, whatever. These are all aspects of the power you've left outside yourself, bits you've been before and forgotten. Okay, before I give the virus inhibitor field empowerment, another question coming, a strange one. Okay, it's a strange one. Somebody's asking about Ruby speaks about the chickpea, that we become a chickpea and boiling becomes soft and lovely. Well, very nice image, but well, it's not nice to be being boiled, but you can understand that through the work you're doing, you're softening up, becoming more tasty. Now, in some way, you don't want to be too tasty to vampires. It's a very bad idea. But yeah, I can see the image here. He's just really trying to expose the real soft core, which is in touch with the love. Anyway, let's go on a little bit about this virus inhibitor field, but also I want to talk about upcoming courses, so you know how to go further. Especially this discretion work. Although it's simple, it does take a lot of reminding to get people to do it. That's what we're going to be doing in the point holding courses. You see, when you start a process, it can be short, it can be long. What I find when people do any process, they want to get it over too quickly and don't go all the way. I've seen people do a quick process, oh, we're done with that when it's done. No, it's not, don't go through the emotion. Sometimes you really go into a trauma, you might be going through emotions for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. It can be intense. What to do on the point holding course is create that space where you're being held. Energy will put in, keep coming up until it's finished. You're going to be going through this 2, 3, 4 hours at a time because all that emotion is going to come out. Yet all we're doing is the same process of discretion. You have to keep going through the emotion to go to the end of it and discreate it. And but also the point holding course uses triggers. There are certain points on the body, reflex points to different glands and organs, to where those different emotions are stored. By looking at the iris, you can actually see where the patterns are stored, so it gives some direction. You can see where to press. The point will be painful because there's resistance there. It'll bring up those traumas, bring up those emotions. And so you can actually keep practicing this. We keep guiding you through all the time. These emotions keep expanding, welcoming, discreating. It often takes such a long course to actually really get it. So if you've done it for 2 or 3 weeks, you'll be getting it. You know, every time there's a problem, you know how to discreate it. So I'll fully recommend that course for anybody who's got any kind of problem at all. You'll discreate any problem, but particularly health problems. The bigger problems become crystallized in consciousness, affecting the body. All the diseases, all the kind of growths and tumours, the things that go wrong in the body, these are all stored patterns. When you release those, the body heals. The virus inhibitor is almost like a small piece because actually when you've cleared the problem, you've got a strong immune system anyway. When you clear fear, for instance, from the thymus gland, you boost its immune response something like 20,000%. So, you know, when you've got a clear immune system, viruses don't affect you. Adding an extra energy to what we call this virus inhibitor field is helpful. But actually, to really get there, you need to release all those fears and the shame. So, I just want to mention that first, that this course is what's really going to do it. I am going to also create an online version, although we can't do point holding on the online version. I want to create some instructions, meditations to keep working with this process of discretion. So that will be coming out at some point. So if everybody's ready, I will give them the virus inhibitor field empowerment now. It'll only take 5 minutes, so all I want you to do is sit quietly. Just make the affirmation that you're now receiving the virus inhibitor field. The instructions will be in the manual I send out, but now you're simply receiving the energy. So I'm giving it to everybody who's watching this. Okay, the attunement is now with you, so you can actually activate it anytime you want. All you have to do when you want to activate it, it's worth doing once a week or so if there's viruses around, and just sit down, have the intention to activate it, meditate for 15 minutes, and it'll be active again, suppressing any viruses and keeping your immune system strong. Okay, then there's a link here for the virus inhibitor manual if anyone wants to download that, so you can actually read more about how to work with it. So, okay, if there's no more questions, we are finished there for today. I will be doing more of these live question and answer sessions, probably once a month. So just stay tuned in.